All right, hey everyone. Uh, Sorry for the bad mic. I went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and now I'm visiting family out in California, so I don't have all my equipment. But I figure I'd make a short video at least. So we're gonna take a look at his next video, which is only 4.5 minutes. I'll try to keep this one a lot shorter.
Hello,
Hi.
Mr. Kirk. I am welcoming booze as saying I am a Marxist. I'm very left-leaning, but I'm here to find some common ground with you.
Okay.
Your critiques of the monopolistic tendencies of multinational corporations align very closely with my beliefs as viewing the world through a class lens as being the major axis of inequality in this country.
Yep.
My question is, as a member, a leader of a conservative organization that really condemns large government, how do you address this ever-growing power and these monopolistic tendencies without using the federal government and big government? I just would love
That's
to
a
know
good
how you
spirited
propose
question. You have read your Marx. Good for you, because some people say they're Marxists and they haven't. So look, I think the Marxists are wrong on a lot. We could talk about that in a second. But the Marxists, their fascination with class is not wrong. And there is a place where class warfare is legitimate and ugly and cruel, and that powerful people are trying to stomp on people that don't have as much as they have. Do I think it's as plain and simple as Marx and Engels put out? No, obviously, that's not my position. But I do think that a bipartisan diagnosis of kind of class issues is something that's very interesting. I'd be curious to get your thoughts as a Marxist of why we talk about race all the time, because that will tell me what kind of Marxist you are, but not right now. So to answer your question, the answer needs to be to try to pursue market-based solutions. Not be afraid to use the government to break up big monopolies like Google. Not be afraid to use antitrust authority. However, understand that sometimes more regulation can actually be a boon and a gift to those mega corporations. For example, when Facebook goes and they says, hey, we want more regulation for data privacy. No, they don't. They want regulation that only they can afford, so the next social media company like Rumble is not able to pay the same that they're able to pay for that sort of data hosting, lawyer fees, and all that sort of stuff. So look, I think we can both agree, though, crony capitalism or cronyism is awful and wrong, and that entrepreneurial, bottom-up focused solutions is a beautiful thing. Where we will disagree, though, is that if you are a Marxist, and you seem too sweet to be a Marxist, so I'll put that aside, but do you believe by definition that the entrepreneurial activity will result in exploitation and will result in the concentration of one person benefiting from the other? This is where I disagree. I think a portion of American economic activity, yes, is big companies exploiting or lying to people. But the vast majority of economic activity happening in America is beautiful. It's voluntary exchange of both parties benefiting. It's the local small business serving a meal to somebody in Santa Barbara. It's benefiting. It's the local small business serving a meal to somebody in Santa Barbara. It's a local hotel that is able to have somebody with a great experience. It's somebody that starts a taxi cab company to be able to provide for their family. So I think that we bash markets way too over generally, and I would love your thoughts on that. Do you agree that most economic activity in America is probably done voluntarily and is actually beneficial?
Not anymore. I think because so much industry has gone overseas with certain trade agreements,
hey, you're speaking my language.
It's usually like very large corporations that dominate employment in America. So I don't think small businesses are doing very well, especially after the pandemic.
No, that's true. I don't think they're doing well, but I think still the volume of economic activity is largely not rooted in exploitation right now in America. What do you think about that?
I agree to disagree.
Okay, got it. So think about that, because I do think that exploitation happens, but largely I think that there still is this amazing foundation of goodness in our markets, of most people that are not trying to game somebody but instead offer a service, and most people that are willing to trade their value, their time for that other service. And I don't want to lose that. And the Marxists, in its most pure sense, at the eradication of private property, we would lose that. So let me just ask, can we agree on one thing as we close this question out? Break up Google, yes?
Definitely.
All right, we got an agreement. Thanks for being here.
Okay. So I just kind of let that one run because actually on the drive up here, it's a long drive. I drove, didn't fly. I listened to Charlie Kirk podcasts, um, and one of them was a discussion he had during his college tour with a Marxist, but it was a lot longer than this. It was an at-length discussion, and very similarly, they had a lot of common ground, especially when it came to the markets and economic things. I think they talked about this specific issue as well. So it's very interesting to see how aligned capitalist and self-avowed Marxists are on these issues, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any disagreement with Charlie here at all, which I mean, not very surprising, since him and this self-avowed Marxist can come to agreement on a lot of it. I think we can all agree that many big companies use exploitative labor, especially when they outsource jobs to like China and places like that, where they basically use like child labor to produce things, right? And the one thing I would say is you see a lot of startups these days, entrepreneurs creating businesses, new businesses. They don't have to, but they opt to default to producing their product overseas, mainly in China or places like that, because it's cheaper, right? So a lot of these startups, they are playing into that exploitative labor, though it's not exploitative of the U.S. people. It is exploitative of, well, it's more of a perception thing. In our view, it's exploitative of like these Chinese children or these sweatshops or whatever. But maybe in their view, it is an opportunity to work. I don't know. That you could get into maybe a philosophical debate on that. But I'm not nearly familiar enough with the viewpoint or perspective of the people performing that labor, like over in China, right? That aside, though, like when I watch Shark Tank, I don't watch it a lot these days, but I used to watch a lot of Shark Tank. A lot of them would discuss producing their products overseas to produce a cheaper product, right? So that's definitely a big element there. So I think, again, we need to come back to, definitely in favor of coming back to producing stuff in the States, and then you'll truly have that businesses, entrepreneurship, not only elevating the entrepreneur and the the people in charge of the business, but also people who it can then employ, and then it's a plus for many people, instead of just a plus for these select few in charge of the business and their investors, right? Yeah, that's all I'll say on that. Short video. Again, apologies for the mic quality. Went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial. It was beautiful. A couple people have problems with like Stephen Miller, what he said, even though I loved his fire and passion. And then obviously a lot of people had issues with what Trump said, and I mean, he did just drone on for a good bit. So I understand that, but it was beautiful overall. Glad I went. I would have been kicking myself if I didn't go. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching.